Hello everybody, welcome to the Ftog server. ToddytheBody here, Avant 3. Here we go. I'm so excited for this episode. So let's just get right into it. So it's hard to say, you know. Sometimes you're like I because I am one, but then you want to say we because I like to think that we are playing together. You give me suggestions and anyways, let's get into this episode. It's going to be a long one. As you can see, we have fully automated our deep resonance with Rftools Control. Now that we have updated the pack and we have the updated version, it's not completely updated because I just checked Twitter and MC Jetty updated Rftools Control like a couple hours ago. So, anyways, I've moved my quarry over here, and it's been less than 24 hours, and this is what I've got. Almost 300 stacks of, ore inside here. I've made the filter for diamonds, gold, emeralds, iron, osmium, and the resonant ore. Alright. Oh, and it just changed biomes too. So, in the end of the last episode, I was thinking that wherever you place this, like you found a biome and that's the type of ore that you were stuck with, and you had to move it if you want to get something else. Like I wasn't getting emeralds for a long time, and for some reason I have iron ore in my inventory. I wasn't getting, let's go ahead and put that back. There we go. Alright. And so I wasn't getting emerald ore, but that's because I was in a coral reef biome and I need to be in extreme hills biome. And I was thinking I would have to move this thing around and find an invisible extreme hills biome, but it looks like over time it will actually just change the biome. So I came back from sleeping and now I'm getting some emerald ore, but now we are out of the, before this it was like some kind of mountain biome, and with mountains and hills and stuff like that you can get emeralds. So I was able to get a few emeralds, but I'm getting a whole lot of other stuff. It seems to be only taking like somewhere between like 2,000 and 5,000 RF a tick, which isn't bad for all the power production we have. I mean, this thing right here itself will power this, just this. So I could like cut it off from everything else. There's that ore miner I was talking to you about, and it's got all the speed upgrades, top tier and all that, and it fills up pretty quick every time I empty it. But we'll go ahead and keep it full for now so it's not draining our power too much. But yeah, so that's that. So I recommend getting this, and if you think it's too slow, like if you can't do like an overnight sort of deal, because I mean this is plenty of ore for overnight. You could set up 2 or 3 or 4 of these things, and then you'll get it that much faster. And it just doesn't seem like it takes that much power to run. I could be collecting all the other stuff, but I think I would throw it away anyway, so I guess that's why they have the filter. Alright, so let's go back to our deep resonance area, because I cannot wait to tell you about this right here. Alright, so I've moved the stuff from there to over here, just so it's closer, because before the processor would search for nodes in a 17 by 17 area, which I thought at first it was like 17 in one direction, but it's 17 centered around the processor. So it's actually 8 in one direction. But there are some new blocks, there are some new items here with Rftools Control. You can see here it's got a HUD, I guess you can call it, or some sort of visual interface that you can do here. Right now I have it on log. You can have it on debug mode, graphics, display. You see up here there's graphic cards and stuff like that. I haven't played with that yet. Off altogether, and then the log again. And something I didn't know, so let's clear this, but if you type in, I don't know if this is the right command or what, but if I type in hello, and it was just by accident that I even tried that, it like gives you the commands and everything. So I played with some of this, and the one that I had up there was net list. So like you can do net setup or net list or net info, and I did net list, and then it gives all those. But then it has all that debug stuff up there, so it didn't actually clear it. So let's do clear and then do net list, and then we'll use this in our explanation. Explanation. Yep. Okay, so I'm going to go over every single part of this, even the parts that we had gone over in other episodes, but I'm going to do those later. First, I want to go over the new stuff, and the new stuff is actually automating the crystal formation. You see I've got nodes here, nodes here. If you look on here, I've got 6 nodes all together in my network. So let's see, let's point them out. Node face. Remember before I couldn't get that, I had to have that there because I couldn't get it to reach. So now I've actually gotten it to go inside here. So that's node face. Node laser is the one on top of the laser. Node craft, because remember we were crafting our filters automatically, so I don't have to do that. Node craft is this one right here, that one. Node reserve. Reserve I have as in like my reserve of crystals, so that's this node right here. Node dump is this one because it dumps the extra stuff back into our storage. And then node smelter is this one here, and it's touching this one on the back, so it like pushes through resonating ore, the stuff here, so that it'll automatically feed into there. So this is fully automated. This is going to be a like a forget project, and it'll run on its own from now on. So I barely have to come in here at all. The only thing that's not automated is just basic resources, stars, emeralds, and resonating ore. So I could probably do that in the future, but Nonsanity has this automated at spawn. This I have plenty from the farms, and then this is coming in from my quarries and the quantum quarry and the ore miner and all that. So I don't really have to worry about that. As far as this here, it's automated. So let's go right into it. Now that we've gotten familiar with the different nodes that we have, let's go into our program. And does this actually have, okay, it's got my crystal formation program here. So let's go over each part. I'm going to try to cover each thing so you know what each of the commands are. And like my disclaimer, just like before, is that if you have questions, you can ask them in the comments, and if I can answer them in a few in a few lines, I'll go ahead and do that. But I think most of the time, because of the complexity of the system, I will have to answer your questions in the next video. But so don't think that I'm ignoring it if I don't cover it. And if I don't cover it in the next video, go ahead and remind me that I didn't cover it, and then I'll try to do that. Maybe I should like make a list somewhere. Anyways, let's get into it. So let's start with the simple ones. This one here, and I have it as a large amount of time, like this one is a minute, because I don't want it to hurt the server at all. I don't want these programs to hurt. So I've got things at like 30 seconds or a minute, so that it's not constantly checking like a lot of other mods will check something every tick. I want this to just do it every once in a while. And yeah, like I said, just kind of be easy on everybody. So every minute, this is going to start this program, and this program, all it does is it hits our laser node and it sends a redstone signal of 15 downwards. And what we found out before is that when you set a redstone signal, it stays on until you turn it off with another code or you break the block or something else. So what it does is it sends a redstone signal downwards, and it keeps this on. So we don't have that lever on here anymore because this requires a redstone signal to work. And the reason I have that is because I don't know if I were to set it once, I don't know if it would stay on after a reset or restart. You know, I always get that confused. The maintenance reset. So I just have it every minute. Go ahead and send the signal down again, just in case it got turned off during the reset. So that's that. Alright, let's go down to some of the simpler ones. Let's see, we've got here. Okay, this is a program on its own, so it's not touching this. You can see there's not a green dot here. So every minute it will take the empty crystals. Yeah, here. So what I have is I've removed the crates and I've replaced it with these modular storage, and they're all set on the same storage. And what happens is that when the crystals get used up, they get pushed into the adjacent inventory, and which is the same inventory as over here. And the program will take it out, put it into the processor, and then take it from the processor and push it down into here into this slot. So let's go and take a look at that real quick. Okay. So go down here. Oh, and just to see it work and everything, right? Let's get this started so we don't have to do it later. I have it set so it looks to see if there are 3 crystals. If there are 3 crystals or more, it won't do anything. If there are 2 crystals or less, it will, every 30 seconds, start a crystal formation. So in around 30-ish seconds or less, it should start putting a crystal inside here. And then every once in a while we'll check back so we can see the next step. There it goes. So it does that, and then I'll just put my crystals back. That doesn't interrupt anything. And then there we are. It should start going in there. Alright, so we've got a little bit of time. Okay, so it will, the inventory here, it will take from the reserve node and then look west. That's the reserve node, and then it looks west for that inventory that's right there. And I have it set so that it doesn't look into any particular slot and it doesn't look for any particular item, because it should only be those empty crystals, so it doesn't matter what slot or what item. And I have it take out one of whatever item is inside there, and I have it put into slot 4 in the processor, in the note or dictionary or routable. So let's look at that. So if we look at the allocated things, MC Jetty has actually like put in like what slot it is, because I guess it was confusing some people. So it puts it in the slot 4. So if we undo this, that is slot 4. So we've got the next set of crystals waiting to be pushed in. And what we're doing that for is so that when the crystal juice runs out, it'll automatically put some more in there, so I don't have to worry about doing that. All part of automation. Okay, so it puts it in the slot 4 of the processor inventory, and then this one pushes items from the processor into the inventory I want it to push into. So it's asking what inventory do I want to push it into. I want to push it into the laser node and downwards, which is going into our laser infuser thing. And it's asking, well, what slot do you want to push the crystal into? Now I had to figure this out through testing, but it turns out that this is slot 1 and this is slot 0. Now that's kind of backwards to me. I would think that the one in the most left and top would be 0 and this would be 1, so it was like messing up a little bit. It was actually putting the crystals here and then over here, but you know, I eventually figured it out. This is slot, what did I say it was? I already forgot because I don't want to say the wrong thing. Slot, yeah, here it is. It is slot 0, and the one on the top left is 1. So that's weird. There's no way to know that without testing, but there you go. That's the information. Slot 0 is where the crystal, empty crystal goes. Okay, so then I want it to pick one out of the processor and put it into the laser. So that's what that's asking, how many you want to take out of the processor. Alright, and then this is asking, well, what slot in the processor would you like me to pick an item from? And because, remember, we picked slot 4, that's the slot it's going to pick from. And that's that. That's all that that does. Alright, now we're getting into the better stuff, the more complicated stuff. Where are we at on this crystal? 3,400 millibuckets. Alright, so we're about halfway. Okay, so the whole thing starts with this event right here, and it will count 30 seconds, and then it will check the level of the tank and face and north. So remember, the node inside here is called face because it was touching the phantom face, and then you look north this way, which is actually touching this tank, which is part of our whole, you know, where everything gets put together and all that. So it's going to look into that tank, and it's going to get the level of it. This one here is going to get the level of it, and it's going to say, is it equal to or less than 0? If it is not equal to 0, then that means it's got something in it, and I want the program to stop. I only want it to start if that tank is completely empty. So if it is not 0, if it is 0, then that means that's true, and it can continue on to the next thing. So something that I learned from Danny and Son's video on this is this right here, the signal thing. This is where you can carry, maybe like if you need to break it up, like see this signal is actually going to be sent to this one here, but I had to do it a roundabout way. I didn't see this before, but I guess you can use this in place of this here and then move it and then send the signal up to a different line, but that's okay. I'll talk about how I did it. Like I said, I did it the long way. So I use the send message operation code, and what this is used for is, like, if I have this processor here and I've got that processor there and I want them to talk to each other, that's what that's for, to talk between processors. But I have it actually talking to itself as if it's a different processor, and giving it instruction to kind of move it up here. So let's see what we did here. You got to name the message. And it could be whatever name you want it to be. I just named it get. All right, and then it's going to say, well, what slot inside of the processor that the message is being sent from can I find this? What do they call it? Let's get this. The network identifier. And you have to actually, let's go over here and look. This is a network identifier, and it's got to be over here in one of these slots. You see, at first I thought because it's like part of the network thing and not really part of a program, I thought it had to be over here, but it doesn't. It has to be part of here. So you have to allocate a slot for it. You see I did, and I allocated slot 3. And what you do, let's say that this little calculator thing is a network identifier, because I don't really want to take it out. Where are we at here? 4,000. Ooh, 6,000. Okay, and it's almost up to 85. When it gets up to 85, it's supposed to put in the nether stars. So we've got a few seconds here. So what you do is when you have the network identifier, you go and you shift right click on the processor that you want to talk to. So you put the network identifier inside the one that's talking, and you want to shift right click on the processor that's listening. Okay, we're getting there. All right. So let's get off of that so we don't accidentally use it. So it's saying, so actually I shift right clicked itself, so it's going to be sending a message to itself. I don't want to miss this. Okay, it's going to be sending a message to itself, and the message it's going to be sitting is get, and it's going to be looking in slot 3 for the identifier to be sent to whatever the identifier is linked to, which is itself, and the variable, we're not using a variable this time. So then we go up here, and it is receiving the message get from, it's listening for a message called get. We are almost there. Okay, so even though I have it set to 85% for the purity, for some reason it starts at 84.7. And I was thinking, okay, well, if it rounds, like if it goes to the next integer, then it rounds up, or point, number. No, integer, yeah. So there it goes, it actually started. And it's gonna go, the strength and efficiency is gonna go all the way to 100, and the purity is gonna go down, but it's not gonna go down to 0 if we have it starting from 85-ish. So we are okay, and I am still using 12 to push into there to get it to 100. That's still the right number, but we actually had to change the emeralds to 24 for this to work. So there we go. So it's gonna start to go up again, and we will go back over to our program. Okay, so once it gets a message get, it knows to start this program line. So what it's going to do when it starts this program line, it is going to check the inventory of the reserve and east. So the reserve node, and it's going to check east. So it's going to look inside here. And it's going to say, is the number that you get, the amount of items that you get, oh, let's go ahead and look. So we got inventory. It's not going to look in any particular slot, and it's not going to look for any particular item or dictionary or anything. So pretty much all it's going to do is going to look in there. It's going to report back with how many items are inside there. So if that number is greater than, because it's going to get the last number, which is the number that's inside there. If that number is greater than 2, which actually means 3 or more, then it means true, and it's going to stop the program. If it is false, which means it is 2 or less, then it's going to continue on with this. So let's go and see what the continue on is. All right, so what I'm actually doing in this line is getting the resonating ore and putting it into the smelter so that we can get this whole process started. So what it's going to do is that if there are less than 2 crystals or less than 3 crystals in there, it's going to go into the internal storage inside the processor, and it's not going to look in any particular slot. And I'll just remind you, it's going to look at this right here. If you don't specify an inventory, it will look inside that. And it's going to look for resonating ore. You see I have it right here, and we'll go down a couple, and it's going to say, well, how many do you want to pull out of the inventory? And it's 30. I want to do 30 because 30 makes 1 crystal. And then it's asking, once I pull that 30, which slot inside the processor do you want to put it in? And I want to put it in slot 0. So that goes into this one right here. So if we look at this again, see, slot 0. So the resonating ore goes into that slot 0. Where are we at? Ooh, that's going up pretty quick. Okay, I'll have to come back really soon so we can watch that. And And then now that it's in the processor, we go on to the next one, and it's saying, well, where do you want to push the item into? Because this is processor to inventory. I want to push it into the smelting block, and I want to push it north. So here's the smelting node, and it's going to push it north into here. And there's only one slot, so we don't have to worry about that. Where are we at here? 84.2. So actually when we get to 84.7, it's going to start. See, before when we were doing this manually, I would wait until it would get all the way to 85.1. And at 85.1, you can get by with only 23 emeralds. With the way it does it, where it actually starts at 84.7 for some reason, even if you say that you want to start at 85, you need 24. So there you go, and it actually started. And it's going to raise it all the way to the 100%, and then it'll be 100% all the way across, which means that it'll go down into the valve and then into the bottom here, and then begin making itself into a crystal, and then get pushed into the reserve chest, which will be ready for use. And that's pretty much the automation process as an example of how it will do it automatically. And then every once in a while, like I said, it'll check to make sure that there are more than 2 crystals, and it will not work if there's more than 2. If there are less than 3, then it will start this whole deal again. Okay, and then it gets to, I just want to show you that it does actually go all the way to 100. And you can see it's lasting a little bit longer than it should for 100, but if I do 23, it'll actually say purity, strength, and efficiency all at 100%, but I guess it's not 100% enough. Like there may be some hidden decimals in there or something, and it doesn't go through the valve. So you actually have to have that extra one, like I said, and there we go. So now that will be made into a crystal and do the thing. So now we can spend all of our time over here in this program. Whew. Okay, so we want to push from the processor to the inventory. We want to go to the smelter on the north, and we already talked about that. And we're not specifying any particular slot in the inventory of the smelter, but it's asking, well, how many do you want to pick out of the processor? And I want to pick 30 because we initially put 30 resonating ore in there. And it's going to say, well, what slot in the processor do you want to get the item from? And remember, before we had pushed the resonating ore to slot 0. So that means we want to pull from slot 0 to go into the inventory. And then that's it. Once that is done, I just have the little green thing going down to stop the program, so that doesn't do anything else. You don't really need that, but I just do it anyways because it doesn't hurt. Okay, so now we've got the liquid cooking, and it's going to go into the tank over there, right there. So now we're on the next thing. So this one, every 30 seconds, it is going to check the purity of the liquid. And what I should have done, I didn't think about it until later, but this one I actually made it the way that I wanted to. I want to actually check the liquid level first. It still works this way, so I'll just go with it this way. It's going to go ahead and it's going to start this program, and what this is we've got some deep resonance opcodes down here. This one here with the leaf will read the purity of the liquid, efficiency, strength, and quality. Alright, so first it's going to read the purity, and it's going to ask you, well, what tank do you want to read from? And we're doing the face node into the north. So face node into the north, just like before. And then it's going to report back with a number, and the number is going to be between 0 and 100, 0, 100% purity. Alright, so then we're going to go over here, and we're going to get that number, and if the number is equal to 85, then that means true, and we're going to go on. If it's not 85, which means that it's lower than 85, it will go up and stop. We don't want it to do anything unless it's at 85. Okay, so then if it is 85, then it's going to continue, and we want it to check that tank again, so face and north, just like before, and we want to get the strength of it. Excuse me, I've got some hiccups going on. There we go. Okay, I think we're good. It's going to check the strength of it, and it's going to report back with a number. And if the number is equal to 10, well, if it's not equal to 10, then it's going to stop and not do anything. And if it is equal to 10, then it's going to go on. Now, the reason that I have it checking to see if it's equal to 10 is because this is the line that sends in the nether stars. This is the line that's going to send in the emeralds. If it's equal to 10, then that means the nether stars have not been sent in yet, and so we continue on with another star program. If it is not equal to 10, then that means it's probably it's probably at 100%, which means that we're ready for the emeralds to purify it all the way up to 100. But it's at 10% according to this program, so we're ready to test to see if the liquid level is good. We want to make sure, so we're going to test the the tank again, so face north, and then we'll send that up here, and we want to make sure that there is 6,000 millibuckets inside. 6,000 millibuckets inside this tank means that we have enough for a full crystal, and we want enough for a full crystal so that we are changing the strength of everything. Alright, so if there is not 6,000 millibuckets inside there, then we want it to fail, and then we want it to stop so it doesn't put that nether star in there. If we do have 6,000 millibuckets, then we want it to continue on. So true, continue on. Okay, so we are ready to actually insert stars because all of these conditions are met. So what we are going to do, we are going to look inside our inventory, which is going to be, because we don't have anything here, it's going to look inside and grab stars from this right here. And is going to grab it from any slot, it doesn't matter because it's a storage scanner, and it's going to grab nether stars, and it's going to grab 12 of those nether stars, and it's going to put it into slot 1 of the processor. Slot 1 of the processor is this one right here. So this one is resonating ore, this one is stars, this one is going to be emeralds, this one is for empty crystals, and this one is for the network identifier. Alright. So once it has those stars inside the processor, we want to move the stars from the processor to the laser. So we are going to pick the laser node and we're going to push downwards, and we're not going to say any slot, because if you don't say any slot, first it puts in the only slot available, which is going to be the one where you put in the catalyst. And it's going to ask, well, how many items from the processor do you want me to take? And we're going to say all 12 of those stars that we put in there, and we want to take it from slot 1 of the processor. Alright, and we're going to push it into the laser. And once that's done, we want the program to stop, because that's all it needs to do is push those stars in. And then the laser will take care of itself. And then every 30 seconds, it will start this line here. And what it will do is it will check the tank. See, face north, just like before, just like all of these. And it's going to say, is it equal to 6,000 or less? Because we only want this to happen when there is enough liquid in there to make 1 crystal, and not less than that. If it is not 6,000, then it will stop. If it is 6,000, then it will continue on to the next thing. It will check the purity level, and then it will check the purity level for 85. Alright, and if it's not, then it will stop. If it is, then it will move on, and then it's going to check the tank again for strength level. And if that number is at 100, then that means we have already done the star step and we are ready for the emerald step. If it is not 100, it will stop. If it is 100, it will continue on to the emeralds. So we are going to pull out of the internal inventory of the processor, out of any slot, and we are going to grab emeralds, and we are going to grab 24 of them, like I said, because it doesn't go all the way up to 85. It goes to 84.7, so we need that extra emerald to get it all the way to 100. And we are going to put that emerald into slot 2 of the processor once we pull it out of our storage. And then we are going to want to push the emeralds from the processor to the laser. So we want to go to the laser node again, pushing downwards. We want to pull 24 of the emeralds out, all 24 that we had put in there, and we want to pull them from slot 2, just like over here where we had put them in slot 2. So pull from slot 2 and push into the inventory, and then we want that to stop. And that is that as far as Rftools Control goes, because once you get that emerald in there, then the rest of it is automated by the valve moving into here, and then this automatically making a crystal, and then the conduit pulling it out and pushing it into there. So that is crystal formation right here. Alright, so what's next? What should we talk about next? I could end the episode there, but I kind of wanted to go over everything in case you missed the other episodes. So let's see here. I've got other programs here. This is not programmed, so this is automated by different mods and blocks and stuff like that. So let's do this. I've got an actually additions casing, and then I think it's called like a lava controller. I don't know. It's the block in Actual Editions that makes lava, and it has to be powered. And I've got a pump above it, so it pumps the lava up and into this tank. You want to keep the tank between 40 and 60%, and that is regulated by this here. It's a liquid monitor by Rftools, and I have it set at 45%, and it's reading the tank, so it sends a redstone signal. If it is more than 45%, and I have this set so that it works when there is no redstone signal. So there is a redstone signal being sent right now because it's more than 45%, which means that this is not pumping. Once it goes down below 45, this will turn on, pump in one bucket, and then turn off again, and that keeps that at that level. Alright, and then we got the smelter, and you need it above a tank to keep it warm and to pull lava to use and all that. It needs power also, which is this right here, and then once it cooks up resonating ore, it pushes to a tank on the top, which I have being pulled out by this ender fluid conduit and into the ender tank, which is this ender tank over here, and then pushed into the tank where we process the liquid into better liquid. Alright, so we've got that. Okay, and then now we have our modular storage here, which is full of filters, and the conduit here is pushing filters into the purifiers. I have 4 purifiers. I thought, and I could have sworn that before you needed it to like kind of drip through, but it turns out that you don't need that. You could just have the bottom as purifiers. It doesn't need one on bottom because it'll go in and then I guess it'll push back out, but it's already set up. So if I do any future things, I'll probably put the purifiers on the bottom. Okay, so the purifiers, once they use up one of the filter will become spent and it will push into adjacent inventory. If there is no adjacent inventory, it will spit out into the world. So what we have is that these two will spit their spent filters into here, and this one is touched by phantom blocks, which are actually phantom faces from Actual Editions, which can clone in inventory, and I have them cloning this inventory right here, which is why we have the sparkles. So then they get pushed into the phantom face, which is actually cloned, so then they get pushed into here instead. So it's kind of neat that we have that mod in there. LPEC has a really great mod there. So that's how we get the purity up to 85 or 84.7 if you want to say that, since our program only goes to 84.7. Okay, so that's the filter part, and this is set to 100 and then 99 and 99. For some reason it doesn't pull out when these are at 100, but at 99 it does. So then that pushes down here, and then you have a crystallizer on top, which will take liquid below it and turn it into crystal and then push in there, but we already said that. And I think that is the manual part, or not Rftools Control part of that system. Okay, so now let's do, I don't really need the program that keeps this full anymore. You can see how, like, if I take one here, this was back when I was doing it manually, and then if you get too close to this, or not too close, but if you get close enough, then it'll refill it with 30 or the correct amount. So we'll put that back into here. But I'll go over the program anyways. Alright, and we named that as get. So let's take that. Let's go over here, and we will clear this and load. Alright. Put that back. Alright, so let's take a look at this program. Okay, so we've got 3 different lines here. Each one is started by a redstone event turning on, which is the entity detector I have here set to players, and if a player gets close enough, it sends out redstone signal and will send it into the processor, which starts this event, all 3 events. So it'll check the chest that is next to it, and these I'm going to go through quickly. See, there's the stuff, and that's being read by the, where is it? Do I have a storage scanner here? Yeah, here it is, my storage scanner. That storage is being read by the storage scanner, and this sign here has a storage control module that is linked to this storage scanner, and that's why it puts all the stuff up here. Okay, so because we've gone over this in a different episode, I'm going to be pretty fast. So what it does on each one of these, they're all pretty identical, or pretty the same, not identical. It will check the inventory of a certain item. This one is emerald, you know, one is star, one is resident ore, and it's going to check the level. And it's going to check the level for like 12, 23, and 30. And then it is going to subtract that number from 12, 23, and 30, and that way it will get the amount that we need in case we don't have 0. Like say if I take part of these, let's just do that. If I take part of them, we don't want it to fill up with another 23 emeralds. We want it to fill up with just enough to get it up to 23 again. So if we go away and then come back, see it goes up to 23 instead of another 23. There we are. Oh, could have swore I put that in there. There we go. Okay, so then it will take the item out of the internal storage and then into the processor and then push it from the processor into the inventory, which is that one right there. So that one's a pretty easy program. Now let's talk about how we make the filters. Alright, so clear, let's grab this program, load. Alright, now let's get that and come back over here and put that back in its spot. There we go. Okay, so we should be at 30 seconds. Yeah, every 30 seconds, and I've got more stuff down there. Every 30 seconds, it will check the inventory for spent filters, and the inventory that I have it checking is that phantom face pushing upwards, which is cloned of this inventory, which is helping us, and it will check it for spent filters. And if there are spent filters in there, which is greater than 0, so that means there are some in there. If it's not greater than 0, which means that it is 0, then it will stop and not do anything. If it is true, then it will take those spent filters, put it in the processor, and then the processor will push it into the dump storage, which goes back into our regular storage, which is over there. Alright, so that's how we get the spent filters out of there, and then every 30 seconds, it is going to check our modular storage over there for the filters, and is going to check to make sure that it's going to get a number, and it's going to report back, and if the number is not a stack or more, then it will go ahead and it'll craft more filters. If it is a stack or more, then it'll do nothing. So then it sends a craft ticket. Alright, so then the craft ticket gets picked up as right here, and it says, okay, well I need to make some filters. So then we have the auto crafting recursive program here that MC Jetty came up with, and we have it to where it will automatically craft the filters. I could also, since it is the same program as the auto crafting thing, I can also go in here and I can manually make these things also. So that's pretty cool. Alright, and then we'll put the filter that we just made inside here, and we'll put the sand away. There we go. Alright, and then how this works is that it'll make a lock so that it doesn't craft 2 items at one time. It will check to make sure that it has the right items, and if it does, it will get those items and put them into the processor. It'll report back with a -1 or a 0. -1 meaning it didn't have the right items, which means that it will go down here and stop the craft. If it did have the right items, then it'll go this way. Then the number will also carry on this way, and if it didn't have the right items, then it will go up here, unlock, wait for something else to be crafted, and then so on in a loop until it has the right items. If it does have the right items, it will grab the items from the processor, because this actually put the items in the processor, and then push it into the inventory. The inventory that we are pushing into is the crafting grid here, and then once it's crafted, it will grab the result out of the crafting grid and put it back into the processor. And then this means that the craft was okay, which has a line here that will push the item to where we needed it to craft. And this one here, it asks you where you want it to put it once you have a successful craft, and we want to put it into the modular thing. So that's how we get our filters automatically. Okay, so that's that one, and I think that is all 3 of those. I just have one more to show you, and that is this, as far as like turning on and turning off our generator so we're not losing power. Every power that we build, or that we're making, all the power that we're making is actually being used. Alright, so let's go in here, grab the program. This one is easy program, and we are about done. Go inside there. There we go. Okay, so this one here, it's just got two different things. All it does is it takes every 30 seconds on both of them. It will check the power level, get the RF of a machine. I have it checking the level 5 Quibbit. You can barely see in there because it's dark, and there's the node. And it is checking it for 78 million to see if it is less than 78 million. If it is greater than 78 million, then it will not turn on the power. If it is less than 78 million, then it will turn on the power. And because the Rftools Control mod, once it sets an RF level, it keeps it at that. It's not like a pulse or anything like that. It will keep it on. And then this one here, it will check the power level, and if it is above 234 million RF, then it will set the power level to 0, and it will turn it back off. So we're not making any more once we get to that level. And the two levels that I picked are actually like 25% low. When it gets to 25% power, it'll turn on. When it gets to 75% power, it will turn off again. And all you have to do is basic math. You know, you take the capacity of the Quibbit or whatever energy storage that you're using, and multiply it by 0.25 to get to 25%, or 0.75 for the 75%, and that's the number that you use. And that's it. That's how you control turning your generators on or off. And I think that's it. That's it. That is completely automated, fully automated deep resonance with Rftools Control and a few other mods. So Mechanism, actually additions, Rftools Control, deep resonance, and I'm using quantum flux for the Quibbits and the entangular, and that's just a send power. I've got this here. This is copying or cloning the Quibbit. So the Quibbit power gets sent here, which gets sent out to, you know, my network. And yeah, I think that's all the mods. No, I use this one too from Random Things, Entity Detector. If you don't have Random Things, then you could probably just set it up with a button or something like that to get these, because it's kind of a hassle to count out 23 because it's not a perfect stack, so you're like moving things back and forth in your inventory to get that number. But anyways, that's it. So I hope that was okay for you. Some of the things I skipped over pretty quickly. I made episodes on those in more detail, so go ahead and check those. I hope you like it. In the future, I plan on making an Rftools Control program that you can set up anywhere and not have to worry about direction, like how these are, whoops, wrong button. Like how these are on top, so you can just do up or down like this. I like that better because you can put it anywhere and you don't have to worry about north, south, east, or west. So like I could probably put this node in between this one and this one somewhere. That one's an up or down. Almost all of them are up and down. The ones that are on the side, I didn't think about doing that until afterwards. Afterwards, I started thinking about, well, I want to just do it, you know, so I can move it if I need to. But anyways, like I was saying, I will probably put or make a Rftools Control program, and now that you can copy and paste these things, paste it on the internet somewhere, and I'll show you a video of how to make your setup and where to get your copy of the program, and you can just put it in wherever you want and make it pretty easy. You don't have to worry about if you're copying or like writing the code the exact same way that I had it in my video here. You just copy it. All right, so there you go. That is deep resonance, fully automated with Rftools Control and a few other mods. Thank you very much, and out. Bam.